The fate of an empire can sometimes rest on the shoulders of one man. Few warriors in history defended a crumbling empire with the skill and loyalty of Flavius Belisarius. He was the Byzantine Empire's greatest general, a man who had once reclaimed lost Roman lands and crushed formidable enemies. But even the mightiest of warriors have their last battle. Betrayed, outnumbered, and abandoned by the empire he swore to protect, Belisarius made his final stand. The rise of a legendary general. Belisarius spent decades fighting for the Byzantine Emperor Justinian I. He was the mastermind behind many of Rome's last great victories. From the Persians in the east to the Vandals in North Africa, he restored lost provinces and upheld the fading glory of Rome. His most famous campaign was the reconquest of Italy, where he defeated the Ostrogoths and recaptured Rome itself. But despite his triumphs, Justinian never fully trusted him. The emperor feared Belisarius's power and influence. While the general remained loyal, he was often recalled, sidelined, or sent into battle with limited resources. By the time of his final stand, Belisarius was an old man, once again called to defend an empire that refused to reward him. The Byzantine Empire on the brink. By the late 550s AD, the Byzantine Empire was in decline. Justinian's wars had drained the treasury, and constant conflicts had left the military weak and overextended. The empire had enemies on all sides: Persians, Goths, Slavs, and Huns, each threatening its borders. One of the most immediate dangers came from the Kutriger Huns, a fierce nomadic tribe from the steppes north of the Black Sea. These warriors were ruthless raiders, skilled horsemen who could strike fast and disappear before an army could react. They saw the weakening Byzantine defenses as an opportunity and launched a massive invasion, a new threat to Constantinople. In 559 AD, a huge force of Kutriger Huns crossed the Danube River and stormed into the Balkans. They ravaged Thrace, pillaging villages and burning towns as they moved southward. The Byzantine army, stretched thin from fighting on multiple fronts, could do nothing to stop them. Panic gripped Constantinople, the capital of the empire. The city's defenses were weak, and most of its professional soldiers were stationed in distant provinces. Justinian, now an aging ruler, had no one left to turn to. He needed a hero. Belisarius returns to the battlefield. Justinian reluctantly recalled Belisarius from retirement. The once great general was now an old man, but he remained one of the few leaders with the experience to defend the capital. However, when Belisarius took command, he faced an impossible task. The Byzantine military was in shambles. The once powerful armies that had crushed the Vandals and Ostrogoths were gone. All Belisarius had was a small force of city guards, a handful of veterans, and poorly trained recruits. Against them stood thousands of battle-hardened Huns, eager for plunder, outnumbered and outgunned. Belisarius knew he could not fight the enemy in a direct battle. He simply did not have enough men. Instead, he turned to strategy and deception. He fortified key positions around Constantinople, using whatever resources he could find. He positioned his small force at critical choke points, forcing the enemy into narrow streets and alleyways where their superior numbers would mean little. He also spread false reports, exaggerating the size of his army to confuse and intimidate the Huns. When the Huns arrived near Constantinople, they were confident of an easy victory. They believed the city was undefended, and that nothing stood between them and riches beyond imagination. But they underestimated Belisarius. The battle begins. Rather than waiting behind the walls of Constantinople, Belisarius took the fight to the enemy. He led a surprise attack, ambushing the Kutrigers as they attempted to cross a river near the city. His cavalry struck with precision, targeting the enemy's leaders and throwing their ranks into chaos. The Huns, caught off guard, were unable to regroup. Their army, built around speed and mobility, was suddenly fighting in an unfamiliar, restricted battlefield. Belisarius's small but disciplined force took full advantage, cutting down enemy warriors with ruthless efficiency. The turning point. Belisarius understood that the Huns were not like the Ostrogoths or Persians. They relied on psychological warfare, using speed, terror, and unpredictability to crush their enemies. But in Constantinople, they faced a calm and calculated defense led by one of history's greatest generals. He used the city's fortifications to his advantage. Instead of allowing the Huns to spread across the countryside, he funneled them into tight spaces where their cavalry had no room to maneuver. The more they tried to advance, the more they found themselves trapped. Then, at the perfect moment, Belisarius led another devastating counterattack. His men struck hard, pushing the Huns back and forcing them into a chaotic retreat. The once feared invaders, who had believed they could take the Byzantine capital with ease, were now fleeing in terror. A stunning victory. Despite being outnumbered, Belisarius achieved a decisive victory. The Huns, who had believed they could plunder Constantinople with ease, were now scattered and broken. Their leaders, humiliated, had no choice but to withdraw beyond the Danube. It was one of the last great victories of the Roman world, a final triumph for one of history's greatest generals. But despite his success, Belisarius received no reward. His victory was ignored, his contributions dismissed. For Justinian, Belisarius had served his purpose. Once again, the emperor discarded him like an old tool. The last betrayal. Only a year after saving the empire, Belisarius faced his final betrayal. In 562 AD, he was arrested and charged with conspiracy against Justinian. The accusations were weak, likely the result of court politics and the emperor's lingering paranoia. But Belisarius had many enemies, jealous nobles who resented his power and influence. They seized the opportunity to bring him down. Belisarius was stripped of his wealth, placed under house arrest, and humiliated. Some later accounts claim he was blinded and left to beg in the streets, though this is likely a myth. What is certain is that his final years were spent in disgrace and isolation. He died in 565 AD, the same year as Justinian. The empire he had fought to protect moved on without him. The legacy of Belisarius. Belisarius was one of the greatest generals of all time, a man who fought against impossible odds and won. He saved the Byzantine Empire multiple times, yet was betrayed and forgotten. His final stand in 559 AD was not just another battle. It was the last triumph of Rome's greatest warrior. A testament to loyalty, courage, and brilliance, even in the face of betrayal. The empire survived because of him, but in the end, it did not deserve him. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up, share it with friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this.